edition of the Locker Room 981.
Yes, yes, yes. With I am Irese.
And Valentine Ogu.
Good morning.
Good morning. We also have the one and only.
Taga, the Chauvin Taga.
I'm moving people so I will have space for my moments. You understand? I need people to see me very well.
That's the best place to stand.
I don't like the way you're
Please,
talking
somebody
to
should
me.
fall Taga.
You can't be talking to me like this. Lewis Hamilton won this weekend. You cannot talk to me rudely. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
How was your weekend? My weekend was great.
Now it's become better. Now you told me this news.
My weekend was great. On Saturday night, he said on Saturday night.
Oh right, okay, so fantastic.
And then led into Sunday.
Okay, so we are live on YouTube right now. If you want to see, of course, our YouTube is always popping. So that's the best experience you can have. Of course, listening to us on radio and extra is on YouTube. YouTube.com/smooth981 FM Lagos.
Yes, you can also send messages through WhatsApp number 0809 444
All right, let's get into our stories for today.
The Milwaukee Bucks moved to within one game of their first NBA title since 1971 with 123-119 win over the Phoenix Suns. Giannis Antetokounmpo had 32 points and 9 rebounds, while Chris Middleton added 29 points and 7 rebounds. According to Antetokounmpo, one more to go. We've got to keep playing good basketball. We kept our composure. We kept fighting. This is the NBA Finals, so you've got to give everything you've got, and that's what the team did tonight.
Exactly. So shocking. I didn't think. I'd actually said Phoenix Suns had the momentum, they had home court advantage, blah, blah, blah. Devin Booker is going to want to bounce back from game 4 where he had foul trouble, all the kini, this one, that one. Yeah, is what I was saying. Because Saturday night into Sunday morning, it was bloody. First quarter though, everything I said was exactly how it went. Phoenix Suns came out blazing. Devin Booker was educating them on how to make buckets. Chris Paul was educating them on how to facilitate play. It looked like Phoenix Suns were at home. The noise in the arena was loud. Then second quarter. Yeah. That's how Milwaukee Bucks converted a 16-point deficit. They scored 43 points.
What?
I was just like, what's happening here? With every bucket they're making, I was shaking. And you know what even made it even more exciting? It was Drew Holiday, the guy that does not know how to play offensively apart from one game in a series. This was his second game with massive input on the offense. Look, the thing about Drew Holiday is he will always bring energy. He will always add. He will always be great defensively. The question is, which game will you see his offensive prowess? Wow. The answer was Saturday night into Sunday morning. He was the highest scorer for the Milwaukee Bucks in the first half. He was their player in the first half. He was the one that everything was working for. In assists, in points scored, he was the guy. Unfortunately for Milwaukee Bucks, they don't have, again, I've said it, they have two of the dumbest players I've seen in an NBA Finals. What? Yeah. PJ Tucker is the first one. PJ Tucker has no job. No, literally, PJ Tucker's only job is to defend. They don't expect him to score points. So they put him on the court to defend. He is one of the dumbest defenders I've seen sometimes. He doesn't know how to defend talented point guards. So you put him up against the Devin Booker and he's getting into foul trouble. PJ Tucker, don't shoot, just defend. The kind of fouls he gives away, like the guy would have made the bucket, PJ Tucker will go ahead and foul him, maybe nudge him, or push him, or hit him. I'm like, PJ Tucker, what are you doing? So second half, PJ Tucker is in foul trouble, 0 points, 4 fouls. And he's on the bench. And then they put Drew Holiday because it's not advisable to put a shooter and another shooter to guard so that he doesn't get into foul trouble and then you don't have those points. So because PJ Tucker is now in trouble, they put Drew Holiday on Devin Booker. Devin Booker was frustrated. And that's where the turnaround came. Yeah, that's when the turnaround came out because he couldn't beat Drew Holiday. And I was like, PJ Tucker, I hope you are watching and taking notes because this is how you guard the man.
He was dumb, so I don't think he
better be taking notes because Drew Holiday did such a fantastic job. But unfortunately, like I said, he was the shooter on the night, so he had to be the guy scoring the points. And so he was moved back into position to put Tucker in. But at the end of the day, they're going to go. Milwaukee Bucks now have home home court advantage. Then Game 6 is taking place in Milwaukee, and they have the chance to close out the series and win the NBA championship in Milwaukee. Now, if that is going to happen, Chris Middleton has to put up the game he put up on Saturday night, which is where he got the 29 points from. Giannis is also going to have to put on the game he put on Saturday night. Drew Holiday doesn't need to. However, Brook Lopez under the has to protect the rim a little better, and then PJ Tucker has to be a little smarter. Those are the two miracles we are hoping will happen, because they are literally miracles. For if those two things happen, with Chris and Giannis scoring their normal points, then I think at the end of the day, it will be Milwaukee Bucks in 6.
All right, let's see how that goes. Well, let's come back home. Home abroad. Nigerian delegates first hospitalized visitor at Tokyo Games. A Nigerian delegate to the Olympics became the first visitor to the Tokyo Games admitted to hospital with COVID-19.
Valentine's face.
And the person is a broadcaster, TV broadcaster Asahi, or TV broadcaster Asahi said this on Friday. The individual, a non-athlete in his 60s, tested positive on Thursday evening at the airport with mild symptoms, but was hospitalized because of age and pre-existing conditions, according to the broadcaster.
Who gave him the test? Who did the test?
But these things happen.
All the tests that we do before we fly.
No, but Val, these things happen.
Look, these things happen. So they're two South African. They're two South African. Hold on, but I'll come to why I'm with Val on this. They're two South African footballers that have tested positive in the Games Village. I think there's one Briton, and then 8 other Britons had to be isolated because they're in contact with that person. So there are a few people that have tested positive. Some tested positive before they left. Some tested positive as they arrived, but no symptoms, nothing. So a little tricky. This guy is already showing symptoms. So how did his COVID test show negative before he flew? Do you understand what I mean? How did he fly?
Well, they said mild symptoms. They said mild.
His test was negative.
If you show signs, you shouldn't fly.
He
was showing signs in the village.
And they said he was showing mild symptoms. It could have just been like a cold, a regular cold.
There's nothing like regular cold.
My darling, first of all, let me tell you even why I'm even pained with this 60-year-old guy. This 60-year-old guy, non-athlete. I like the description. Because there was a federation, I will not mention. They went with 2 athletes and 8 officials. These 8 officials, what are they? They're supposed to be holding the 2 athletes hand and foot, Abby. Why are we traveling with 8 officials and just 2 athletes?
Thank you.
Exactly, which is when they mentioned that this guy is a non-athlete and 60
expression of priorities.
I'm just
That's
like
quite unfortunate.
More non-athletes than the athletes.
Exactly. Is he supposed to be there? Okay. I rest my case.
All right, let's move on.
Nigerian problems.
That's really sad.
And we went
I heard about one. What's the country now that ran away that said his country is really tough?
Oh yes.
See, so this is what happens.
He's a weightlifter, right?
Yeah. So this is what happens. This is what happens when we go for international events, which is why sometimes they even deny athletes, legitimate athletes, visas, because sometimes these athletes just go in for the tournament and then disappear from there. Yes. And start seeking asylum, saying this, saying that. So yes, this usually happens. So that's normal, Ayo. That's just regular. That's one that even turned up. I don't like the way you're calling those countries. But but it happens all the time. Remember?
I know it happens all the time. I'm just saying. But usually I'm just African countries.
Yes, it's usually African countries.
20-year-old weightlifter Julius Seki Toleko. Interesting. He failed to appear for his COVID test at the training camp in Izumisano.
Well, but for me,
there's one word though that's in my head.
For me, it is the reason he gave that the countries had.
So he's seeking asylum, no.
But he should apply. That's why they have fun.
All right. Anyway, let's move on to the next one.
Okay, let's take the story of the day.
Oh, Max Verstappen has accused Lewis Hamilton of being disrespectful and unsportsmanlike following their collision in the British Grand Prix. The Red Bull driver was taken to the hospital for precautionary checks after suffering an impact of 51G in the first lap crash. Very disappointed to be taken out like this, Verstappen said. Watching the celebrations while still in hospital is disrespectful and unsportsmanlike. But we move on. Verstappen later confirmed that he had been released from the hospital.
Okay, so before I start to talk, we have a clip. We have. So there are many angles to it. It was all the rage yesterday. Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. Then Lewis Hamilton actually had some more racist abuse. That's normal. We hear it. We now expect it when there's something like this happening, that there's going to be some racial abuse, and like clockwork, there was. So they are clamping down on those people. I think they've gotten their handles, but wait to see what punishment has been meted out. But what happened was the clash. Who was at fault? Who wasn't at fault? Who should have backed off? Who should have gone on? But the person that had the best seat of this fight in the house was Charles Leclerc, the Ferrari driver, because he had overtaken. He started the race in fourth, but he had overtaken Bottas, and he was watching Lewis Hamilton and Verstappen's fight play out, because regardless of what happened, he was always going to be the benefactor, because they were battling so hard that he had closed the gap. And so he was just looking, where is the battle? Is it left or right? So I know where to swing to. So he's the one that had the best seat in the house. And this is what he had to say about the clash. So let's hear from Charles Leclerc first before we start.
It's very difficult to judge it from the car. We are very low, so it's difficult to see. Everything went very quick. Obviously, I could see there was quite a bit of things going around in front of me.
Speaker volume. Volume.
I think it's a racing incident. It's quite difficult to put the blame on one or the other. Obviously, there was a space in the inside. Maybe Lewis was not completely at the apex, but it's also true that Max was quite aggressive on the outside. So things happen, but I think what is the most important today is that Max is unharmed and is fine.
Okay, so this was Charles Leclerc's opinion. From where he was, yes, Lewis was not at apex, so it's called a copse turn. So it's literally a copse turn. The reason it's named that way is literally it's the fastest, one of the fastest corners in the British Grand Prix. So they're already driving fast and they get into a fast corner. It's a really tricky place. And so these two cars were battling. Now Lewis knew that he had to pass Max Verstappen either on the first lap or the second lap, but very early in the race. Otherwise, he would not have seen Max Verstappen again.
Yes.
There was not going to be any argument. His tires would have been down. He didn't have new mediums, and so he had to overtake very early. Verstappen knew that that Lewis was going to come after him, and so when they started off, unfortunately for Max Verstappen, in the sprint race qualifying the day before, he had really set his brakes alight in order to overtake Lewis, which he did to get pole. But he couldn't take a lot of risks like that again because of what he had done the day before. So he didn't jet off as quickly as he would usually have. Lewis had the better start. But Lewis goes in front and Max covers the inside turn. So Lewis has to back out. Then they get to another turn where they're both at par and they touch, and Lewis has to back out again. Again, this is what usually happens because Lewis is fighting for a championship. Most in general, he will not want to get into reckless tangle. So he's just like, let me calm down. And then they get to this turn. Now in this turn, Max Verstappen was ahead. But he was ahead and he gave Lewis Hamilton space on the inside. Lewis Hamilton now pretends he's going to the left and then dummies right to that space that's on the inside, and he puts his head. Then Max sees that Lewis has put his head in, and Max, I kid you not, turns his wheel to try to cover up Lewis Hamilton.
What?
He was slightly ahead, which meant, yes, he could do that, but you don't turn. He turned his steering completely to try and cover Lewis Hamilton, and Lewis ideally should have backed out. But Lewis was like, you're not bullying me here. Why should I back out? We are fighting for championship. Let's fight it out. So there were two options. Either Lewis back out or Max go wide. Max did not want to go wide because he wanted, if he went wide, Lewis would overtake him. Lewis did not want to back down because, I've entered here. You can't shut the door at me. And so they clashed. So Max's rear tire hit Lewis's front wheel. Max now spins, of course, because of the speed they're going in, and again is the fast corner, and he rams into the wall. So I thought, when I looked at it, I thought racing incident, because I thought Lewis could have used the space on his right, but I also thought that Max Verstappen could have shouldn't have turned into Lewis. But the stewards come back and say Lewis is predominantly at fault because Max was slightly ahead. and that he should have backed out. And I'm just like, why are we using this word back out? If there's a fight, why am I the one to back out? But Lewis gets a 10-second penalty. Now, some people say if Lewis is at fault for such a heavy crash like that, 10-second penalty is not enough.
Mild,
yeah, it's too mild.
But Max is also at fault.
Exactly, which is why the stewards were using the language predominantly at fault. Both drivers could have done something. But I think the reason they gave this punishment was because of the consequence. Max was clearly, that was such a heavy crash. Max was clearly shaken up. He had to go to the hospital for checks. I think it was consequences and Christian Horner, because Christian Horner immediately got on the phone and started crying to the principal. He did this. Meanwhile, Max has been pulling off this kind of stunts before. And Christian Horner will be like, he's a young driver. He's aggressive. Yes, he's done it. That there was a space there. He had every right to go for it. This is what we are here for. We're here for racing. But today, that is his own driver. He's dangerous. And Lewis was, in his words, Lewis was desperate. He's an experienced driver. He's an 8-time world champion. He should have backed out. I was like,
Backers Club.
I said you haven't given him time, because he said he's an 8-time world champion. Lewis is only a 7-time world champion. He's bidding for his 8. So you're prophesying it to his future. I'm like, receive it in Jesus' name, Lewis. but really tough one. So that was the debate. At the end of the day, Lewis won, but Verstappen was very upset that Lewis won and was celebrating. And Lewis was like, I'm not going to apologize.
Why won't I celebrate?
It was both of us that were at fault. You only unfortunately got the wrong end of the stick.
Yep.
All right, let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll continue with more stories here in the locker room. 981.
Okay, so we'll open the phone lines for the next story.
So we'll open up the phone lines for the next story.
Sports boss. Okay.
We'll try. I know it's 9 o'clock, but we'll try.
No, even but we've been getting calls and even our YouTube people. Hello everyone on YouTube. We have more people today. I don't know what's happening today. Just all through the shows, the numbers have been really good. Well, compared to previous.
Maybe tomorrow is public holiday.
Oh yeah! What's your back?
You are listening to Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life.
Yes, everybody's listening to Snooze 98.1, so you should let your friends know. It's the Locker Room 91 with Stega Supreme.
And indeed, your host, Valentine Noho, and myself.
I am Mario Esse.
Don't forget, the first half of the Locker Room 91 was brought to you by Bet King.
Yep.
All right, let's take some more stories. If you want to watch us live on YouTube, youtube.com smooth 981 FM Lagos, and on WhatsApp, it's 0809 444 0981.
Our phone line 014489981. Please call with your reaction to this story.
New Tottenham Hotspur manager Nuno Espirito Santo fired a hands-off warning to clubs interested in signing Harry Kane, saying on Friday the England striker was crucial to the Premier League club's ambitions next season. He said, "Harry is our player, period. No need to talk about anything else. Now is the time for Harry to recover his energy and rest after the European Championship. When he returns is the time to talk. He needs to prepare for what's coming."
Should we tell him? Because I mean, this is not your call to make.
He's wooing Harry to say that
he's important to our next league. Harry is looking for a trophy that is important to his career. You are looking for Harry that is important to your Champions League. He's not even interested. So the numbers to call
0144489981.
So we want to know your take on this story between Harry, Tottenham, and his transfer bid. What do you think should happen with Harry? And where is Harry at right now? I've heard a lot of people are interested in bidding, but I've not seen any real contender.
He's having secret talks.
See,
especially this is outing at the Euros. I think he would have definitely generated more interest.
There's no kind of secret like that.
Really?
If you mistakenly meet somebody for lunch, they'll say it's transfer.
Even if it's for coffee.
It's telephone calls.
So please call us. Should Harry be concerned with Tottenham's bid for next season, or is Harry moving on with his life? What is your advice if Harry Kane were your brother or your family member? Talk to us. What would you be telling him right now?
So this is my thing, Harry. If you're listening to us, if you do stay, I promise I'll stick with Tottenham all through the season. If you move, though, I can't guarantee that.
I was going to sound
I'm sorry, are you a trophy?
No. I was actually going to ask MC Macaroni, are you there? Are Are you here with them, man?
Are you a trophy?
here?
Hashtag, are you a trophy?
So let's hear your opinions. What do you think
Alright.
of if Harry were your brother? What would you tell him to do? All right.
014489981. Please
Alright.
call.
Please call us.
All right, now no decision yet on Rashford surgery, says Manchester United boss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He said the Premier League club has not yet decided if Marcus Rashford could undergo surgery for a shoulder injury. When he was asked by reporters after Sunday's 2-1 friendly victory at the Derby County if plans for Rashford have been confirmed, Solskjaer said no. We're looking at the best options.
Okay, so here's what is tricky. Last week we heard that Marcus Rashford has agreed to do a shoulder surgery. This week we are hearing that the club hasn't decided. I'm sorry, who is the owner of this body? Because the player is feeling discomfort clearly, and needs to have a surgery. And we're waiting for the club to decide.
They pay you the kind of money they pay you, they own you.
I was going to
Your
say,
body and
Tega,
everything.
they own you.
They don't own you. They
own you.
signed a contract for your services,
Apparently.
not for you. So if the shoulder is not working, I mean, because last week we heard from credible sources that he decided, and he was going to be out for about 12 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then this week, Solskjaer is telling us that we haven't decided, as in all of us collectively that own this shoulder.
Yeah.
we haven't come to a conclusion. And this is where it's tricky for players, because, sometimes you're delaying the inevitable and you're performing, performing at half output when you can treat the injury and then come back at the maximum. So it's not, I don't think it's something that, the club should be deciding for him. I think he should be taking his decision himself.
All right. Okay, so we have a comment from Gbemi. Gbemi says, for me, I believe it was more of a racing incident. I watched the replay several times and I couldn't find faults with Lewis. Yes, he could have moved his car slightly inside for Max, but they are competing and not friends.
Abi?
Furthermore, Max always doesn't seem to care when there is a dog fight because he had nothing to lose in the past, unlike Lewis. But now, as the championship leader, he should have been more cautious.
I agree with
he had
you,
more
Gbemi.
to lose, unlike Lewis, which ultimately led to him losing points that he has gained over the past 4 races.
I feel like what he said, Max, by the way, is tantamount to throwing a tantrum.
Oh, he followed
Because
Lewis
he
on
didn't
Instagram.
Yeah.
Yes, this fight has gotten
So I
personal.
understand it's actually
Yeah,
petty.
he unfollowed Lewis on Instagram. Then his father was okay. His father used to be a race driver too. So his father had his own choice, was to say Christian Horner was like, I hope Lewis is really happy. I was like, as opposed to what?
Seriously. Because if Max were in Lewis's shoes, I doubt that he would step aside.
Yeah.
All right.
Chimobi Victor from Alaba International says, good morning, locker room family. If Harry Kane was my brother, I would tell him to move to Manchester City and win trophy, because his children will surely ask him how many trophies he had won in his career, so there must be something to show his children. Okay.
Well,
Okay.
and since he didn't come home, at least he didn't come home with the the 3 lions, but he came home with Lewis. Yeah, I mean, think about it. How ironic was it that Lewis had to battle a Ferrari car from Italy? Can you imagine? And it came down to penalties still.
Yes.
Lewis still came out on top. He brought it home. Give the guy some credit, John.
Yes.
All right, so Germany's men's Olympic football team walked off the field with 5 minutes left of their friendly against Honduras after defender Jordan Torreneja was allegedly racially abused. The game, played behind closed doors in 3 30-minute periods, did not resume and finished 1-1. A tweet from the official Germany national team in English, said, the game has ended 5 minutes early with the score at 1-1. The Germany players left the pitch after Jordan Torreneja was racially abused.
Yes, really huge one for the German national team, but this was a friendly. And so this guy apparently plays for Hertha Berlin in the Bundesliga. But on the field of play, he suffered some racist abuse and the entire team walked off and didn't come out.
Love it.
Now, this was a friendly. It was a pre-tournament warm-up. The Olympic football matches are starting Wednesday and Thursday, just before the Olympics opening ceremony starts on Friday. But this was the friendly. I'd like to see them do this in a tournament. You see, friendly is not the same thing. You've made a statement. We've heard now, we've seen. But just imagine that somebody gets racist abuse during the Olympics match itself, and the entire team walks off.
Yeah, just dashed
and the match
team.
and the match is over. And then
it depends on the decision.
Well, and then the Olympics decide to give the other team the 3 points. I want to see what will happen. I want to see the outrage. This is a friendly. Everybody be like, oh, why people still being racist? I want to see it happen when there are consequences that we've been questioning should not be. Because remember when Valencia had to continue playing because they were threatened that if they didn't play, they were going to give the other team the 3 points and 3 goals.
Yeah.
So I want to see that happen when there are those kind of consequences. I want to see what the body will be able to come out and say. When you're all claiming that you're fighting racism and then you're victimizing the team. So I want to see what happens. This is friendly and this was good. And, this is just light noise. I need to see it in a real tournament. Everybody just walks out. Let's see what happens.
Ugo Collins says, I'm Team Red Bull, and I know it must take a lot of anger and fight to wrest power from Mercedes. I understand Verstappen's frustration. We all know how tough it was for Rico Rosberg to become champion. Ugo, thank you. All right, let's talk about this guy, Chris Smalling. He said he was surprised and excited by Jose Mourinho's appointment as Roma manager, even though he knew it meant their uneasy relationship at Manchester United would be dragged up. He said he's a born winner. He likes to push everyone to the limits. This is what he has done throughout his career, and it was in a reaped rewards.
Okay, so let me put it this way. In this life, this world is very small. Don't think that because you did something in Nigeria, you can go to China and avoid it.
To meet you.
It may take a while, but that's exactly what's happening to Mourinho and Smalling. Who would have thought? At the time that Mourinho was in Manchester United, that it is at Roma that Smalling and Mourinho will meet again. And so what even caused this then? Smalling was injured. He wanted to play through the pain. And Jose Mourinho was like, no, you won't give me 100% through the pain. You might as well heal first and then come back. And Smalling was upset. Excuse me. So Mourinho gets fired. And a few people celebrated. I don't know that Smalling celebrated, but a few people were a little too happy about it. And now, how many years later? 2 or 3 years later, they are meeting in Roma again. Jose Mourinho is coach still. Smalling is player still.
Who's the boss?
What's going to happen?
I hope you're listening.
I am listening.
Like, move from Manchester
No.
United
I'm not moving Mourinho now.
Okay.
No.
You're not moving again?
No, I'm moving, but it depends. I want to stay with Tottenham, depending on Harry Kane's decision.
Harry Kane, please do not listen to Ayo. Ayo will dump you once you have a losing streak. I can guarantee you.
No, but I made him a promise that if he stays, I'll stay with them.
You made him a promise?
Yeah.
You saw Harry Kane?
I just did.
Okay, let's hear from
Jake says, good morning, Sports Zone. That Hamilton was penalized confirms that he was wrong. So no need to argue about that. But the real issue is that he knew what he was doing and would likely get away with it because he was at home, which he more or less did, as the penalty was a less than a slap on the wrist. 10 seconds for a car that regularly finishes 40 seconds to a minute ahead of everyone else except Max is nothing. Also, Max had the corner and was entitled to turn in, which is exactly what Lewis does regularly to other drivers.
Verstappen does it regularly to other drivers.
This same issue happened with Nico years ago where he was knocked off and Nico won. Can you guess what the narrative was by Lewis? Thanks, says Jake.
Okay, Jake, if they're talking about that 2016 World Championship, we all watched it, and we all saw 12 Mercedes engines on the grid. Only one was suffering week in, week out. So you people can have your arguments. Nico Rosberg won one championship and retired. You know why? Couldn't fight. Hamilton has been beating him from when they were go-kart drivers. Yes, now. Hamilton has been beating him from when they were go-kart drivers till they became F1 drivers. And then he won one season because Hamilton had mechanical problems. That even to today, Toto Wolff is calling unlucky. I said it's unlucky, an electrical problem, a mechanical problem, or a spiritual problem. Which one is it? Let's know what it is. So Jake, go away with your narrative, John. Verstappen should go and cry me river.
I go with spiritual.
Thank you, Jake.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for your
Okay,
comments.
Jake, come back with your narrative. Your narrative is good. No, it's good balance. It's
yes,
good balance.
It is,
No,
of
he
course.
understood what you meant.
Yeah, it's good balance.
Let me do a quick check of our YouTube channel.
Yeah, we have to have both sides. So Jake is on the side of Verstappen, and it should be.
Yeah.
I just want to mention that Lewis Hamilton made 2 other overtakes at that corner.
Yeah.
And they didn't crash.
Wow.
All right, final comment
So
from
good measure.
YouTube. Visidio NG says, if I were Hurricane's brother, whenever we are home and I pass by him, I'll just be singing, so far, no, they tire you. And I pass by. Some people are just wonderful. Thank you all so much for being a part of the show today. Big thanks to Tega, one and only Supreme Onojaife. I'll find out the work she does with ladies in sports at LIS International on Instagram. Find us at Smooth981 and on youtube.com/Smooth981FM Lagos. On YouTube. We have some great smooth music lined up for you in the next few minutes, so stick with us.
Stay tuned, everyone.
We need to turn that thing off now. I was finding myself, I forgot.